समझ नहीं आ रहा अपने सैलरी इंक्रीमेंट का क्या करूं।
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है? अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स के एसआईपी का टॉप अप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
क्या? समझ में नहीं आया।
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है? अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स का एसआईपी टॉप अप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
आप समझा।
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
How should India respond to Donald Trump's offer to join his so-called Gaza Peace Board? The offer has been made formally to Prime Minister Modi. But guess who the other invitees are? Pakistan is among the invitees. And surprise, surprise, Trump has even reached out to a country that is widely regarded as an adversary, Vladimir Putin's Russia. Is this a trap for India? Should India really get involved in Trump-led politics in West Asia, or what the Americans call the Middle East? In any case, with the state of play being what it is between India and the United States of America, with no trade deal completion in sight, should we actually be sitting on a peace board where Pakistan may also be sitting? And this is not even right now getting into the fact that Bloomberg reports that there is a $1 billion minimum fee for a permanent position on this board. I'm Barkha Dutt. You're with the Mojo Story. In a moment from now, strategic affairs expert Sushant Sareen will be with us to discuss Trump's crazy new move. The crazy new move includes the creation of a so-called peace board, a peace board in which Trump has evidently reached out to 60 countries. India is among those countries. Pakistan and Russia are also among those countries, as is Israel. This is on a day when it has now been confirmed that Trump has written an official letter to Norway saying that peace is no longer an obligation, that Greenland is now all bets are off when it comes to the Americans acquiring Greenland, because Norway did not oblige Trump with a Nobel Prize. I mean, Trump has basically linked action in Greenland to him not getting a Nobel Peace Prize. It is beyond the realm of ridiculous, and yet this is the real world that we live in. In these circumstances, with another 3 years for Trump still in office, should India be joining this peace board? To talk about this and a lot more, I want to welcome our newsmaker to the program today. It's always a great pleasure to have the very plain-spoken Sushant Sareen with us. He never pulls any punches, and that's what makes talking to him so fun as well as refreshing. Sushant, let's start with this offer. At one level, Sergio Gore presented it on social media as if it was some sort of peace offering to be part of this so-called peace board. How do you look at it?
We're going from bizarre to bizarre to bizarre. It's actually sometimes it's scary that you have somebody as unhinged as Donald Trump, the president of the United States and the strongest country in the world, a man with his finger on the nuclear button. It's scary because, look, to be honest, there are certain things that Trump talks about which I don't entirely disagree with, and I can understand where he's coming from. Whether it's on security, whether it's on trying to reassert American hegemony, whether it is asking allies to put up their or pick up their share of the weight of international security. There are many things which he talks about which are entirely understandable. But the way he goes about it and the kind of theater of the absurd, this letter which you are quoting now, where he says that if you're not, because you have not given the Nobel Peace Prize, now I'm going to start invading countries. Like, it's, look, frankly, it beats me how you should make sense of something like this. Now, in the midst of all this comes this whole Gaza peace plan, which is again a pretty half-baked kind of a thing that he will be president for life. It's almost like an Ashwamedh Yagna, if you will, where Another parallel is, of course, the DLF Golf Club in Gurgaon. Very hefty amount for a 5-year membership. I can neither afford a golf club membership nor can I afford a membership of the East, but it's something like that, At least out here, he says it'll be a lifetime membership, but lifetime of what?
Yeah.
Is this a new United Nation kind of structure, new alternative multilateral kind of a thing? But it's not multilateral because he's going to be the chairman. He enjoys the veto power. He calls all the shots, and everybody else is a supplicant.
Yeah.
Now, frankly, all this other noise that Pakistan has also been invited, that it's pointless because look, we sit with the Pakistanis when we are at SCO. We will sit with the Pakistanis on certain other forums. If they are called and we are called, we'll probably not acknowledge their presence, but we'll sit with them if we are called to a gathering like that. We could be in the UN at the same time. So Pakistan being invited, not invited is completely irrelevant as far as I'm concerned. But the question is, what is Trump proposing to do? And is this some kind of a bizarre scheme where the Trump organization is going to collect money from rest of the world, farm out contracts to cronies and family members, to make some kind of a Gaza strip?
Yeah. By the way, on that note, the cryptocurrency deal with the Pakistanis got formalized.
But again, see, he can carry out doing whatever deal he wants to do. I don't know how much money the Pakistanis are going to put on it, whether the Americans will get taken for a ride, whether the Pakistanis will get taken for a ride, whether this is a kind of a bribe by another means for the Trump family. It really does not, it's not making any sense as of now. But also remember, this is the same Pakistan where the economy is tanking, where you have the Prime Minister of Pakistan running to Davos to meet with the IMF chief and request her that please cut some slack for me because otherwise, the generals are going to eat me up, chew me up. There's this huge propaganda campaign that has been built up in Pakistan that because of the IMF, the economy is not picking up and the IMF needs to keep allowing Pakistan to spend money. Look, the Pakistanis can spend billions of rupees on the wedding of the Punjab chief minister and show off their wealth, a vulgar show off their wealth, but don't have money and do not charge taxes to the wealthy, to the rich, to the elite in Pakistan, but want the IMF to cut them slack. But forget about Pakistan. We are not talking about that right now. Let's focus on the Trump plan. So what does he propose to do in Gaza? Now, look, frankly, we are not living in a world of morals. And if India's interests were to be served by being part of this particular board of peace, I would say, okay, fine. Let's not pay the $1 billion right now. That can be done 3 years from now. But okay, let's see what it comes with. But what's in it for us? And that's not clear. So I'm not just going to join something simply so that I can do some ego massage of Donald Trump. If there is something in it for me, if he's giving me a sweetheart trade deal, for example, I can consider joining this organization. Let me see who are the other people who are going to become part of it. But just jumping up, either just in a knee-jerk reaction, rejecting it or accepting it, I don't think we should do that. It's a crazy world we are living in now. You have the Americans run amok. You have them talk about imperialism and a new form of imperialism and completely unabashed about it. The fact that they're pissing off a lot of people, that they are alienating a lot of their allies, it doesn't matter to them. That entire ugliness with which some of the Trump staffers, people like that fellow, what is that guy's name?
Stephen Miller.
Yeah, and some of the others, the way they talk, it's insulting to say the least. And the Europeans are getting a taste of it because the Europeans thought they are going to be safe and secure. But look at the way he's treating his closest allies and partners. So I think a country like India needs to be very, very wary. Just like every other partner of America has vulnerabilities because we've allowed, the Americans to play
Yeah.
that role of
But
hegemon. Whether
here's the question for you. How does one even say no to Trump? It's clear now that Trump's ego, when bruised, it has consequences. It's clear now that Trump's bruised ego in Op Sindoor. Howard Lutnick says if Modi had called Trump, the trade deal would be in a better place. And now imagine, just play out this scenario. India politely says, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm just hypothesizing. India says thank you, but no thank you to this. Do we have an angrier Trump?
No, look. The point is today it's this particular Gaza peace vote. Tomorrow it will be something else. The British, as is their wont, were completely obsequious to Trump. It was strange to see the British Prime Minister, Britannia that ruled the waves, Britannia where the sun never set on the empire. You have the Prime Minister of that country, which resembles more of a third world country the way it's run these days. You have that guy being completely lying, prostrating before Trump, right? And gets a very good tariff deal. And now
Yeah.
on Greenland, Trump says, okay, I'm imposing 10% right now from 1st of February and another 25% if you guys don't, kowtow to me. So any deal you sign with Trump is not worth the paper it's worth on, because tomorrow morning he can get up and decide he's going to do something, which if you don't accept, he'll slap another 100% tariff on you. How do you deal with, as unhinged administration as this one? And there are no checks and balances. All that talk about the checks and balances in the American system has gone out of the window.
Yeah.
It resembles a third world dictatorship in some ways, which is crazy because one never expected, this kind of a thing in the United States of America. You could think of it in many other countries in the world, but you never thought this about the US of A or many of the other countries. But you see fascism, unbridled fascism, on thought control in Britain, for example, where people are now being imprisoned not for gang rapes, not for grooming gangs, but for tweets, right? That is Britain for you, where you could say anything and get away with it. It's a bizarre kind of a world we are living in. All the norms and systems of the past are being thrown to the wind, and so I think the point is that you're right. We probably should not say no immediately. We should say we are considering it. We'll wait and see. We need more clarity on it, which we actually do need more clarity on it. If we think, it scratches our back some, I think we can be part of it. We don't have to necessarily be a very activist part of it. We can be a part of it, but let us see what exactly it involves. As of now, it's not clear. And maybe we'll be in the company of the Russians and some of our other friends. So,
yeah.
Why not?
Now, talking about Starmer, I actually want to play out just a clip from an interview I did with Fareed Zakaria, where he makes the argument that Prime Minister Modi will just have to make the ask. He'll have to be the prime mover of any sort of progress with the United States. However, he gives the example of Starmer. This was, of course, done before Trump's sort of threats to Europe. Just want to play out this clip and then see what you have to say. Take a look.
I think it can be repaired. I think Modi has the capacity to do it. India is important enough. But there is one big issue. Modi will have to make the ask. Modi will have to be the kind of prime mover in this. One thing Donald Trump is actually very shrewd about and intelligent about is he understands leverage. He understands when he has it and when he doesn't. You notice when he went up against China and the Chinese retaliated with the rare earth ban, he understood China has incredible power on this, not just in rare earths, in the entire supply chain of critical minerals, pharmaceuticals and such. He backed off. He's backed off completely on China. He knows that in the case of India, he has leverage. India needs this deal more than he needs it. I would say anyone who would make a fair analysis of Prime Minister Modi would say that there are big egos on both sides as a general proposition. And I think, if you watch, for example, the way Keir Starmer handles Trump, I think it would be fair to say that Prime Minister Modi is unlikely to be willing to handle him in quite the same way.
Starmer is embarrassing. I'm sorry, I'm cutting you short there, but to watch,
I know you.
it's
I know, but
it's embarrassing to watch Keir Starmer.
But he gets what he wants, right? I mean, is this about you or is it about the country? I think what Keir Starmer would say is, I got Britain the first deal, the lowest tariffs. I got him to agree to a special partnership on AI. Like, these are not insignificant things.
And where is Starmer today? And that's the argument. I mean, I can't play out the whole thing, but I was having this argument with Fareed that on one side, it may be an ego trumps. On the other side, it's about sovereignty and pride. And what did Starmer anyway get? Like, he's standing isolated from the rest of Europe. He's today looking absolutely without any self-respect. I don't know how the people of the United Kingdom will judge him, but it is truly embarrassing to see Keir Starmer. But to Fareed Zakaria's argument that Modi has to pick up the phone, Modi has to make the ask. It won't happen without that. I mean, what do you say?
Look, a couple of things. Barkha, one, Starmer is not the first British Prime Minister to lie prostrate before the Americans. There are many others who have done the same thing. And they do it with great aplomb, right? The British have this thing of, that's how they built the empire in India. They apple polished all the native rulers and then stabbed them in the back. That is the British history. But forget about Starmer. Look, I think the one thing which Fareed Zakaria is not entirely correct upon is talking about Modi's personal ego. Look, when Modi was Chief Minister of Gujarat, he was treated very shabbily by all the Western world, right? He was denied visas. The Western press went hammer and tongs at him. And when he became Prime Minister in 2014, there was an apprehension in many of these capitals that, because we've treated him very shabbily, how will he behave with us? I think Modi, on one thing you can credit Modi with, that his ego will take a backseat if he thinks India's national interests are being served. Why do you think he goes and shakes hands with Xi, despite the fact that he hasn't quite, forgotten what the backstabbing which happened with the Chinese, but he thought that this is the time to make, to take the step forward with the Chinese to try some kind of normalization, which is what he did in 2014 with the West. And he actually believed, and I suspect he still believes, that a closer relationship with the West is in India's best interest. And when you talk about the West, it is the United States of America, which is the leading power. So, and I don't entirely disagree with that analysis of the Prime Minister or his strategic calculation. The problem, however, is that Modi would be more than willing, that's my assessment. I could be wrong, but I think Modi would be more than willing to pick up the phone, maybe call Donald Trump 10 times, if he felt that if he gets the deal which he can live with, which will not throw, large sections of Indian farming community and others, vulnerable sections, under the bus, he'll be more than happy to sign a deal tomorrow. He'll be more than happy to pick up the phone and apple polish Trump, which he did in the past.
Yeah.
Why do we forget that, he lauded up Trump like it's nobody's business? And a lot of people took a lot of umbrage at how Modi was apple polishing Donald Trump.
I agree with you. I said to Fareed Zakaria that on one side I'd call it ego and on the other side I'd call it pride. And I said, there is a difference in the two, because ever since Trump unilaterally announced the ceasefire between India and Pakistan before India could have its own articulation, that was basically, if you can come out of these pictures, please, it was basically interfering with our sovereignty. That's how I see it.
Again, Barkha, I think a lot of what exactly transpired at that point of time hasn't entirely been made very clear. Maybe Trump jumped the gun. So I don't want to get into it because I don't have any evidence to present. But from whatever I have learned, there were a little slips here and there, and then suddenly things went out of control. Maybe the timing.
No, we could have handled it better as well. I mean, both things can be simultaneously true.
Yeah, but the point was that, if supposing, and I don't want to get into the details of where I think the certain slips happened and the timing went awry.
Yeah.
But I suspect that if Vikram Misri's announcement had come before Trump's tweet,
Yeah.
India would have been more than happy to, credit Trump, not
Correct.
tell him that, yes, he mediated or anything, but say, yeah, the Americans also came in and used their
Carried a
good.
message, the right message to Pakistan, whatever.
And yes, we thank,
Yeah.
President Trump and his team for whatever efforts they made to ensure that things don't go out of control. Something they could have figured out. But once once that arrow was fired by Trump or his tweet was fired, there was no way India could back down. Now, on the trade deal, for example,
Yeah.
I suspect that if there is a level of confidence in India that, look, whatever we agree to in the phone call, that is what we will get. And Trump is not going to add some mirch masala of his own and then announce something which was not agreed upon, which has happened in a couple of cases. I don't think the Prime Minister would have any problem in picking up the phone. His second problem is that, look, it's not about him personally, that he will say something about him. Trump has said many things. He's tried to mimic him. He's done other things. That hasn't stopped Modi from calling him up or talking to him. He hasn't said kutti to him, right?
Mhm.
But it's not just about Modi as an individual. It's Modi representing the people of India. And the people of India being somewhat thin-skinned, and I don't think entirely wrongly, about national pride, which you quite correctly say that it is about national pride. So,
Yeah.
but when you are dealing with a guy like Trump, who's completely tone deaf to the niceties of diplomacy, the kind of norms that we should need to be followed, who feels entitled to say that, look, I tried to do 6-8 peace deals, but because you've not given me the Nobel Prize, now I'm going to take over Greenland. Are you serious? This sounds like somebody who's completely deranged. And I wonder what kind of, maybe, this is one factor that I don't know, maybe I'm shooting my mouth off, but somebody can probably seek his examination on psychological imbalance and for some kind of an improvement. Because what he's doing is he's actually destroying America's bona fides around the world. He's actually ruining America's image. He is actually showing America is completely untrustworthy, somebody you can't partner with, somebody that, I was just hearing something today where people are saying that we were talking about friend shoring and de-risking from China. We now need to de-risk from the United States. We need to friend shore from United States. We need to find markets other than the US, because this kind of whimsical kind of policies which these guys are making, it's bizarre. It's beyond bizarre, actually.
But do you agree with the part that Zakaria makes about leverage? You see, one of the things, because we focused, I think, over the years, I now feel too much on soft power and not enough on accompanying hard power. Do you agree with Zakaria that the unfortunate truth is that we need this deal more than they need it?
Look, again, I will agree up to a point. But remember something, you have a New York businessman with his typical arrogance and, the kind of freewheeling kind of business deals he's used to making. And frankly, his business deals were not exactly above board. And you have a Gujarati who is also not, a spring chicken when it comes to understanding how leverage works. Again, but the Gujarati will not have a bull in a China shop approach. The Gujarati's way of doing business, even when he has leverage or does not have leverage, is very different from what a New Yorker real estate magnate will do. So I think there is that difference which you have to take into place. So it's not as though Modi does not understand leverage. And it's not as though Modi does not understand that, yes, the US market is very critical for India. There's no doubt about it. And yes, to some extent, the Americans do enjoy a massive advantage. And frankly, if that trade relationship was to break down, it would cause a lot of pain in India. All those people who are putting up this very brave front and who are now saying that, our exports have actually risen, they're not breaking down the kind of exports we are making to the United States right now. While the exports which are not tariffed are rising, the exports which are tariffed are actually falling. Gems and jewelry and garments and some of the more labor-intensive industries, they are suffering. So I think we need to be very careful. Now, Modi understands this, which is why he is not firing back. He's trying to play it cool. He's trying to take it easy. He's trying to uh, carve out some space for India to try and see if we can find some kind of new markets for some of our products, whether we can we can use a circuitous route to export the same commodities to the United States or some of the other markets. So they're trying to look for ways and means to move forward. And yes, to the extent that the Americans will be enjoying a certain amount of leverage, and India does not want to use whatever leverage it has because it does not feel that we need to use it at this point in time, lest it makes the negotiations even more complicated. But Barkha, remember one thing, despite all the pressure that the Trump administration has put on us, so far we have more or less stuck to our guns. We more or less are trying to get into a deal which is not this one-off kind of a thing which many of the other countries have done, which is a far more comprehensive kind of a deal that we are looking for, which also protects our own interests and has carve-outs for certain sectors which are important to us. There will be some areas in which we will give in and then try and protect some of our vulnerable communities in a different way. But I don't think we are ready to simply lie down flat and let them walk over us. So to that extent, we are sticking to our guns. And it's a difficult phase we are going through, but I don't think we have a choice. We have to go through this because now we will also try and look for de-risking from the United States.
What would reverse transactionalism look like? Trump has made it clear that he's entirely transactional, and that's fine. Let's go beyond the sort of hand-wringing over rules-based order, norms, shared values, diplomacy. All that is obviously, at least as long as Trump is in the White House, thing of the past. In this peace board offer, what would reverse transactionalism look like if India were to calculate it?
So first, what is the expectation from us if we become a member of the peace board? Apart from that $1 billion is neither here nor there. If I was to get $100 billion or $200 billion trade deal, then if I have to bribe Jared Kushner or somebody else with $1 billion worth of contracts in Gaza, I don't care.
Right.
And frankly, I think a lot of people will take a lot of offense to it. Look, what is happening in Gaza, it might not leave a good taste in the mouth, but frankly, I'm not a player out there. Should I be a player out there? I'm not even entirely sure if I'm not going to be calling the shots. And if I cannot really influence outcomes in that region, outcomes which protect the interests of my friend Israel and also provide a certain degree of relief and some degree of dignity to my friends in Palestine, I would be willing to do something about it. But other than that, I'm not the one who's firing the guns out there. I'm not the one who carried out October 7th. I don't hold any brief for them. I don't think India should have any brief for Hamas or other terrorist organizations.
I mean, why should India get involved in this mess? It's not our mess. We have our,
Exactly. So, but the thing is, if there is this offer which has been made to us, and this is something which means that, okay, fine, if nothing else, we get to sit at the table, even if nobody is hearing us out. Even if Donald Trump is going to be the Lord and Emperor who have a veto who will you bring all his whimsicality and his capriciousness to whatever decisions are taken. Forget all of that. But I'm sitting out there. Okay, fine. In return, if I'm getting my trade deal, if I'm getting certain other deals, then I think, yes, why not? I still have not paid the $1 billion membership fee, which I will consider maybe a year, 2 years from now, seeing how this peace board operates. Because other than that, I don't see why I should be, jumping the gun to either say yes or say no to him. Why should I?
So here's the popular opinion among our viewers, not representative in any way. Should India join Trump's Gaza Board of Peace? 83% say no. And it gives you a sense of how people have come to see the United States of America. It really, and I agree, it's easy for people to say this. They're not the ones who have to run the government, manage the economy, talk about industries that, will be badly hurt if this trade deal doesn't happen. That said, this is the sentiment.
No, I don't disagree with this sentiment. When I first heard about this peace board thing, even my thing was, why the hell should I get into it? For what? Pay $1 billion so that Trump and his cronies can build this mall strip and this Riviera on the Mediterranean. What am I getting out of it? And then when you start thinking about it and you say that, okay, fine, is there something that something by participating in this, do I get some leverage? Do I get some kind of a say? Do I manage to smoothen out some of the rough edges that have come between India and the Trump administration? Do I manage to push forward with my trade deal with the United States? Are there any advantages for me if I say yes? We can think of the disadvantages that, will be said that you are now in the American camp. People will say what they want to say.
Yeah.
And I don't give a damn about it. What I'm worried about is what does it ultimately bring for us? And frankly, Barkha, the bottom line is there isn't a whole lot of clarity on what exactly is expected of people who will be members of that peace board. It's a very inchoate kind of a, stuff which has come out so far. There is nothing specific. There is no idea. And from whatever has come out, it's again that, you are becoming shareholders of the Trump organization, where the Trump family will call the shots. It's like I buy shares in one big Indian company like, Tata Sons or Tatas or something like that. I am holding 100 shares and I am just sitting, and my only interest is that my share goes from 100 rupees to 200 rupees. Baki, what decisions they make, who they are doing business with, what business they are not doing, I don't care, because I'm just looking at my share value, right? Now, either I'm like that, or I am, somebody who is going to be calling the shots on how the company is run. And frankly, there is not any level of clarity on whether I will
sorry to interrupt you, but finally, here's the problem with Trump. The Starmer example shows you that whether you suck up or whether you stand up to Trump, there's no predicting what he's going to do next. There are actually no great options. So you may as well stand up, is my point.
So here's okay, I understand where you're coming from. But on the flip side is that you know that he will throw you under the bus no matter what. And at whim and a fancy, he will throw you under the bus. But until he throws you under the bus, can you get something out of him? It's as simple as that. So, this is what a Gujarati businessman will have to decide. That if I'm doing this deal with this guy, is there anything in it for me? And can we carry on just saying no and putting that entire economic level relationship? I think the strategic level relationship has come under a lot of strain anyways, because that trust factor has gone right now. And it'll take a long time to rebuild it. But there is a living economic relationship as we speak. Can we afford to jeopardize it beyond a point? There are millions of jobs which are at stake. So, for example, just Apple and some of these other tech giants which have started manufacturing in India, the number of jobs, Barkha put one of your researchers on it, they have created an enormous number of jobs. decent, well-paying jobs where young people are getting employed. An enormous number of jobs they've created, and these are not like the brick and mortar industry jobs where, if 5,000 people are employed in a factory. Out here, 100,000 people are employed in one factory, right? And if that is now going to be tariffed going down the line, or your software industries, that entire global capability centers that we are, which are coming up in India, they are going to be tariffed. The service industry is going to be tariffed. Can you imagine how much dislocation it causes in India? So, Modi is nobody's fool. If he is playing it cool, he's playing it calm. You think if it hurts you and me, you think it doesn't hurt a guy like Modi? Come on. Yeah. But if he's keeping his cool, the reason he's keeping his cool, and it's very easy for, his detractors to say, oh, Modi is surrendered, that. Yeah. But the fact of the matter is, he has to think about millions of people in this country who are going to suffer because he cannot control his ego. And so the one thing which he has done is control his ego. He has kept quiet. He has not joined issue. He has not joined into a slanging match. He's kept his dignity. He's kept India's dignity. And yet, somewhere along the line, I think he will have to, he will not have any compunctions in picking up the phone and talking to Trump if the deal is on offer.
I just wanted to share with you one data point that my colleagues were able to pull out. The Apple supply chain in India has created over 350,000 jobs.
Just Apple?
Just the Apple supply chain. Just giving you one example.
There are a whole lot of other companies, which are into this manufacturing business, which are doing fabulous work out here. And probably the number of jobs they've created probably are 2 or 3 times what just Apple alone has done. But Apple is one of the big success stories for, in
and therefore we have to keep sentiment. And I see what you're saying to one side. Actually, the trick is to learn how to be as cold-bloodedly transactional as Trump can be without the whimsicality and the instability of Trump. I think that's
or be as cold-bloodedly as Modi is.
No, I'm saying I think you're right about saying that India has stuck to our guns, because if we hadn't, surely Trump would have said something or acknowledged something by now. So by definition, actually, they can't get over the fact that we...
Allow me a minute. I think one of the things on which Trump is kind of pissed off with us is that he probably expected India to crumble under pressure. And I think his intention is... part of it, I understand where he's coming from. That, look, the Indians never really give us anything, in terms of when we ask them to break off with the Russians, they'll give us some excuse. We ask them to do certain other things, they will not do it because we think we have agency. So that part aside, I think he thought the Indians would crumble. The Indians haven't. He is very interested in making sure that India is a subservient kind of a state, as something like Britain, or one of these other countries, and India is not ready to play that role. I think if Modi was to play that role, I think Trump would be more than happy to make him his favorite prime minister in the world. But I don't think Modi is interested in playing an Asim Munir out there. He has kept India's dignity. He's kept his own dignity. He's not joined a slanging match, which is, I think, exactly what an Indian prime minister should be doing right now. Baki, look, in Indian politics, people will keep taking digs at him, which is part and parcel of politics. You have to have a bit of a thick skin, both to deal with Donald Trump and to deal with the Indian opposition. And I'm sure Modi has a bit of a thick skin on that, at least.
All right, we leave it there. It's going to be really super interesting to see how India responds to this so-called offer to join the high table of the peace board. I think you're absolutely right in saying you don't say no straight away. You have no knee-jerk reactions. You don't do a Trump on Trump. You take your time, you measure it, you calculate, and you see what's in it for the country. We leave it there, Sushant. Always fabulous to have you with us. Thank you. Take care. See you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye. It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.